The numbers might surprise some people. Within St. Johns County, about 25% of our community, they're not earning enough to cover their basic cost of goods.
How can a business engage in workplace giving?
You have hundreds of people giving a small amount of money, and it adds up to benefit the entire community.
Nearly 30% of all charitable giving happens in the month of December, but nonprofits rely on our support all year long to continue supporting and serving our community. So welcome to this Chamber Conversation. Today, joining us is Carl Cricco, President and CEO of United Way of St. Johns County and Putnam County. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, we're so glad to have you, and we're so glad that we're able to have this Chamber Conversation with you and really let our community, more specifically our chamber member, know more about United Way and what the great job that you've done, and our team as well, your team as well.
Thank you.
The first thing I want to address with you is we know how St. Johns County is perceived as an affluent community. Mm-hmm. But the numbers tells a different story, and you have shared with me in the past what those numbers are, and I'd love for you to share with our chamber community what are those numbers to really telling the story about the needs of our community.
Yeah, so absolutely. So thanks for having me. It's really nice to be here. The numbers might surprise some people. So at United Way, we really focus on the ALICE community, which stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, and Employed. So think people that are working two jobs and can't pay their FPL, right? They're doing everything right, but the cost of living is outpacing their income. So within St. Johns County, as of 2023, and I would assume the numbers have gone up since this, about 25% of our community would fall into the ALICE category. So they're not earning enough to cover their basic cost of goods. And then in addition to that, you have about 7% of St. Johns County living in poverty, right? So not making ends meet. So if you combine those two numbers, it's about 33%, 32% of a third of our St. Johns County community who is struggling financially. And what that translates into is not being able to pay rent, not being able to feed your family, not being able to pay your FPL. And those things compound over time and lead to a lot of anxiety. So there's a pretty significant size of our population who is very stressed out with basic finances right now. And that's kind of where we come in to try to help.
So just to make sure I understand it clearly, 32% of our residents.
Residents of St. Johns County.
That is a large number.
Yes.
That is struggling every day on paying the FPL bill, and then we're not
One
even
out of
talking
every
about
three people.
housing.
Yeah.
But tell us more also. I know you mentioned something earlier about our housing with me when we're having a conversation.
Yeah.
How you support our residents who are struggling.
So one of the key benefits of United Way is emergency services. So you are an employed individual, you had something, let's just say you got into a car accident and the bill for the car was something that you didn't expect, right? So now you can't pay your FPL, now you can't pay your rent. You come to us, you request emergency funding to pay that FPL bill, pay that rent. You make a formal request, we make sure you are who you say you are. We make sure you are employed, you're doing everything right, and we pay those bills for you. So how we get most of those requests, a lot of those requests, is through 211. So people call 211. It's a service line where if you're in an emergency situation where you can't pay your bills and you need to get the resources of a United Way or another nonprofit, you call that line, and you're then designated to a resource that could help you. So 211, for example, in St. Johns County, I looked at the numbers before sitting down with you, about 45% are all housing related. And within that housing related bucket, the 45%, so about half the calls, right, is rental assistance, is not being able to pay the rent for that month. So the majority of calls right now that we're getting, and this has been an increase over time, and I'm sure that people watching this won't be surprised because the cost of housing is increasing. A majority of those calls are for rental assistance.
Wow, that is, it's just really confirmed that we're having issue in St. Johns County with affordable and attainable housing for our community. So thank you for doing that. Do they have to reimburse it? How does it work? Is it given to them for one time? Or?
We pay the landlord directly.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
We just basically say, we put us in touch with the person that you pay your rent to. We get in touch with them. We get a W-9 and we pay the bill.
That's fantastic. What a relief. It allows also for those residents to stay in their home when they start to have issues financially like that. And if it's just an emergency that put them in a situation where they're unable to pay the bill, like you just mentioned, accident or healthcare issue, that is fantastic to have this available for St. Johns County. Thank you for doing that. And
our pleasure. It's why we exist. And one of the things that that we struggle with is sometimes you do have people who you're like, well, after this month, how are they going to continue to pay their bills because of their scenario? So we try to work with them beyond that. What is your long-term goal? Because after this month, we can only give this funding to individuals once a year.
Well, yes, it's an emergency, and there's so much funding. Talking about funding, let's talk about that for a second. So, one of the great way for you to be able to raise funds from our also residents, maybe the other 60 or 70% that can do that and support is through workplace funding and workplace giving. Can you tell us more about how this works and why it's effective? How can a business engage in workplace giving? Let's start with that.
Sure. It's a great question. I love talking about workplace giving. So United Way, it was one of the pioneers in the workplace giving space. And what it really boils down to is we partner with local companies, right? And they then agree, from an HR and executive levels perspective that, we want to give to United Way. We want to give back to the community. So, what does that look like? So we come in and we tell them about all the ways that we fund the community. We fund all of the nonprofits that are on the front lines of housing, food insecurity, et cetera. And they then, ask their staff. There's no push, right? It's definitely a soft ask. If you want to give, great. If you don't, that's fine. But you give whatever you can from your paycheck. So it could be $1. But the beauty of that is if you give $1 every paycheck and you employ 300 to 500 people, and let's say half of them engage, then that money adds up. So it's really about the power of the collective, right? We love major gifts. We love getting one check for $10,000, but what's just as good is seeing 10,000 people give $1.
Yeah. And then that $1, if even for a smaller organization, can end up paying the rent for somebody that had an emergency that you just mentioned earlier.
Exactly right.
So that is, and so tell us more about all those nonprofit that are benefiting through this contribution, which in turn are providing services to our residents.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Community Impact Grant Program is our main funding mechanism, and it funds 30 plus nonprofits here locally. And we're focused on housing affordability, food insecurity, education, and then community resilience, which really translates to, say, hurricane and disaster relief. So every 2 years, we get applications from all the local nonprofits. We go through them, we vet them. It's actually a very serious process. We're looking at all the financials, all the 990s, all of the audits, and then we're actually having people go onto the grounds of the nonprofit, walk the grounds. These are third-party volunteer auditors who have they're just there to analyze and look at the nonprofits and come back with a report. So based on all that information, we grant funding in a 2-year cycle. It's $1.2 million every 2 years, and it's designated to the organizations that we feel are doing the best job locally, but also in tandem with that, what is happening in our community right now? Like what nonprofits are, I don't want to say more valuable because they're all valuable, but who's really addressing a need that's more pronounced right now, right? And how do we focus on that and prioritize that with our funding? So I think that gives a good overview, but it's really spans the breadth of needs in our community. As I mentioned, we're giving funding to nonprofits who house youth, to nonprofits that are teaching adults how to read. It's really a wide breadth of needs that we're meeting.
Right, absolutely. And then those nonprofits, you were saying they were going through a thorough process of a review before they are accepted. They are in St. Johns County and then in Putnam County, in those 2 counties that you serve, not outside of those territory, correct?
Yeah, they're all here. They're all local. They're all local, which is the beauty of United Way. And one thing, so my background, not to get into that because it's not relevant, but I did work for a national nonprofits. And the one thing that I will say that's so appealing about United Way is you're giving money to a nonprofit that knows the local community, that knows all the executive directors of the nonprofits locally, that knows the issues that, say, the county commissioners are dealing with, that knows the issues that the local community is dealing with, so that we can make sure that we're aligned with what the community needs, and we're here locally, so we understand what that is.
And that's the beauty about it, about the system we have in place also with corporate and workplace giving, is you can adapt and turn the contribution towards what's needed depending on how our community is changing, what are the challenges we are facing, what type of nonprofit can help advance and solve some of those issues. So that is a well thought way of being set up for this nonprofit. And that's what you were mentioning earlier, how the beauty of having that for United Ways in general, to be with all those different nonprofits that can contribute directly back into the community.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
So for those who financially may not be in a position to give to United Way, but feel that it is important for them to do whatever they can do to give locally, what do you suggest they do to support United Way?
Yeah, I think that, a good way to look at United Way is kind of this, the center of the nonprofit space, right? And I don't mean that in the sense that we're more important than or something along those lines. It's more that we talk to every nonprofit locally. We are communicating, we're funding, we're understanding what's going on. And they, with not just funding, but also with volunteer needs. So also with, and any specific need that a nonprofit has, they come to us to see if we have some support for them. So I would say outside of funding, obviously money is always needed because, we're a nonprofit world and money is tight, but volunteering is really the critical
donations piece. That may be more material donations?
Some
of your nonprofit that
yes, absolutely. If you want to donate, cans of food that have been sitting in your pantry for months, and we can help you navigate that, or a car. Yeah, absolutely. Bikes, toys, whatever. Yeah, we can act as a central resource to kind of distribute that. But I would say volunteering is a great way to help if you're not in a position to give financially. And like I said, we're talking to the gamut of nonprofits locally. So it could be everything from reading to kids after school to helping build a house for Habitat for Humanity.
So every skill set, every also desire that something that interests you specifically, you will find a volunteer.
Exactly. And get that fulfillment.
That's right.
Help the community,
Totally.
and feel good about it.
Well, Carl, this was a really a pleasure to host you today in the Chamber Conversation. Is there anything else you'd like to add for our members to know more about United Way?
No, thank you for having me. I think that, the most important thing for me is just for everyone to understand the power of the collective, the power of the community, how, workplace giving is a great example of that, where you have hundreds of people giving a small amount of money and it adds up to benefit the entire community. So it's really all about us coming together to support those in most need, our neighbors, which are right here in St. Johns County. So just want to emphasize that.
Thank you. Thank you again, and thank you and welcome. And thank you for being part of our Chamber Conversation today.
Thank you very much.